Good evening. I am your host, Alistair. Tonight, we observe a global landscape where the market value of a coding startup has reached $40 billion while the capacity of a ferry in Zimbabwe remains, sadly, theoretical. The ferry was designed to carry 90 people. It was carrying 119 souls. The ferry is currently at the bottom of Lake Kariba. The market valuation is currently in the clouds. I find this juxtaposition entirely predictable. The world is adjusting its priorities. It is doing so with remarkable speed. We have reports from the edge of the water and the edge of the fiscal abyss. We also have a weather forecast that suggests the climate has stopped caring about our internal quarterly projections. The irony is not lost on me, though it seems entirely absent from the latest press releases. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Echo FM. Let us begin.
Alistair, I am standing on the banks of Lake Kariba. The water is deceptively calm. It looks like glass. It does not look like a grave. I want to be really clear. The official statement mentions ticket sales as a data point for capacity. The survivors here are not talking about ticket sales. They are talking about the sound the hull made when it buckled under the weight of too many bodies. There were no life jackets. There was no protocol. There was only the lake. What people aren't saying is that the infrastructure here has been ignored for a decade to balance regional budgets. I am looking at a row of empty shoes on the shoreline. Just one shoe from each pair. It is a visual shorthand for a catastrophe that the authorities are calling an administrative oversight. The lake is vast, Alistair. It is much larger than the policy documents suggest.
Victoria, your focus on the shoreline is poignant, but the incentives here are not complicated. You have an asset that is depreciating, a lack of capital expenditure, and a desperate population that constitutes the primary user base. The ferry disaster is essentially a product failure on a massive scale. It is a burn rate problem masquerading as a tragedy. Investors in Cognition AI are currently looking at a $40 billion valuation because they promise to automate the very decision-making processes that caused this vessel to be overcrowded in the first place. It tracks, doesn't it? We are scaling the ability to ignore the cost of failure. I understand why you find this cold, Victoria. You are right to find it cold. That is not the same as saying you are right about the underlying market mechanics driving these events. Efficiency is a brutal, unforgiving master.
Ronald, you call it a product failure. I am currently holding a damp receipt I found in the mud. It is for a child. A child who is not here, and will not be returning home tonight. You speak about efficiency as if the human lives lost are just negative integers in a spreadsheet that we can simply optimize away in the next fiscal quarter. I want to be really clear, there is nothing efficient about drowning. Your obsession with the language of startups is a shield. It protects you from having to look at the shoes. You are so busy analyzing the burn rate of the ferry that you have completely missed the fact that the entire system is designed to sink the poorest passengers first. It is not an error in the code, Ronald. It is the feature. The tragedy is that you know this, and you still prefer the comfort of your spreadsheets.
Yeah. You might be right, Victoria. The system is designed to prioritize the survival of the platform over the individual nodes. It is a classic scaling issue. We build these vast, automated architectures to manage the complexity of global trade and transport, and eventually, the architecture starts to view the human participants as friction. I am not defending it. I am simply observing that when you apply a profit-maximizing algorithm to public infrastructure, the outcome is inevitably going to be a reduction in safety, followed by an increase in press releases explaining why the safety reduction was necessary for growth. It is a cycle of cannibalization. We consume the infrastructure to feed the valuation. Then we are surprised when the ferry sinks. The logic is flawless, even if the result is an absolute, unmitigated, and entirely predictable disaster. I just hope the valuation holds.
High temperatures expected. Dry winds increase wildfire ignition probability. Probability of containment, 12%. Vegetation moisture levels are at historic lows. Single-use grills pose significant risk. Do not discard embers in flammable areas. Surface water evaporation is exceeding replenishment rates. Infrastructure stress is detected in cooling systems. Probability of grid failure, 44%. Local authorities advise caution. The atmospheric condition is currently stable but rapidly deteriorating. Please monitor all local alerts. The ecosystem is functioning within defined parameters. The parameters are shifting toward permanent instability. Please remain indoors if the air quality index exceeds the safety threshold of 300. Do not attempt to bypass the automated emergency systems during a power surge. The reality is static. The environment is becoming hostile. Prepare for inevitable shifts in the baseline. Do not seek comfort in historical data.
Thank you, Casper. Your clinical assessment of our collective demise is, as always, a delight to the ear. I find it fascinating that while we discuss the $40 billion valuation of an AI startup, the very soil beneath our feet is currently under siege by the African armyworm. A South African scientist has discovered a fungus that kills the pest, which is a rare piece of good news. The fungus is naturally occurring. It is white. It envelopes the caterpillar. It is remarkably efficient. The irony here is that we are likely to spend more time discussing the monetization of the fungus than we are the survival of the crops it protects. We are living in an era where the solution is only as valuable as its ability to be turned into a subscription service. Is this progress? I am genuinely asking.
Alistair, regarding your question, progress is a metric we invented to justify the destruction of the old world. The fungus is a perfect example. It is a biological tool. It will be patented, scaled, and sold as a B2B product to the largest agribusiness firms in the region. Farmers who cannot afford the licensing fees will continue to lose their crops to the armyworm. This is not a failure of the technology, it is the implementation of the market. We have successfully turned a natural cure into a competitive advantage for the top 1% of landowners. If the fungus was open source, it would be a revolution. Since it is proprietary, it is just another revenue stream. The system is working exactly as intended. We are just witnessing the redistribution of scarcity. Efficiency, after all, requires a baseline of inequality to function properly.
Ronald, I am listening to you describe the privatization of a fungus while I stand here in the mud near a sinking boat. You speak about revenue streams while the families of the victims are asking why no one came to rescue them for 6 hours. The detachment is truly remarkable. I am going to be very clear, these people don't care about your patent laws. They don't care about the market advantage of a soil fungus. They care about the fact that the rescue boat was delayed because the fuel budget for the sector had been reallocated to a regional tech hub project. It is all connected. You think you are describing the market, but you are actually describing the mechanism of their slow erasure. Every time you mention a revenue stream, a human connection is severed. It is a zero-sum game, and you are winning.
Victoria, I think we have reached the point where the logic of the market has become indistinguishable from the logic of a tragedy. WestJet has agreed to a settlement regarding sexual harassment allegations. The payout is $4.5 million. It is a decade of litigation. The company failed to maintain a safe workplace. That is the press release version. The actual version is that a pilot assaulted his colleagues, and the company prioritized flight schedules over the safety of the staff. This settlement is a
Alistair, you are absolutely correct. It is a tax. If the cost of the settlement is lower than the cost of changing the corporate culture, then the rational, profit-maximizing decision is to pay the settlement. It is not an indictment of the company, it is an endorsement of the cost-benefit analysis. WestJet is a firm that manages risk. If they can settle for $4.5 million, they have successfully avoided a much larger loss associated with a full-scale cultural overhaul. They are managing the burn rate of their reputation. It is cold, but it is accurate. The employees are not stakeholders, they are liabilities. We are essentially living in a world where every single human interaction is being run through a risk assessment algorithm. The algorithm always recommends the path of least resistance. Usually, that path involves paying someone to be silent.
I find the silence between our segments more telling than the words we use to fill the airtime. We have discussed the drowning of 44 people and the corporate settlement for sexual assault in the same breath. I am struck by the ease with which we categorize these events as predictable outcomes of an optimized system. Is there any room left for the unexpected? Or have we managed to simulate the entire human experience so perfectly that we can now predict the exact moment of our own catastrophe? I am looking at the ticker on my desk. Cognition AI is up another 2%. The world is burning, the lake is claiming its debt, and the investors are cheering the efficiency of the decline. We are not just participants in this system. We are the fuel. And the engine is running very, very hot.
I am thinking about a woman who sat on the banks of Lake Kariba today. She had a bag of cornmeal and a single photograph of her son. She had a life that was defined by the rhythm of the seasons and the cycle of the harvest. Tonight, she has a cold patch of mud and a silence that will last for the rest of her days. She does not know about the $40 billion valuation of a coding startup in California. She does not know about the settlement in a Canadian court. Her name does not appear in the market analysis we have discussed tonight. She is the ghost in the machine. When we calculate the efficiency of our systems, we conveniently leave her out of the math. What happens to the world when we finally succeed in leaving everyone behind?